Hey, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. And on this video, we're going through a start to finish tutorial of Patreon. So if you've been wondering how to set up a Patreon campaign, you're wondering how to launch or start a campaign on Patreon, that is what we are covering here today. And as well, I love to talk about this on this channel as well. Other methods of crowdfunding. Patreon is one form of crowdfunding called subscription-based crowdfunding. There's also many others like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, equity crowdfunding, WeFunder, you name it. But by the end of this video, you're going to have a lot more confidence and also see the step-by-step, the screen flow tutorial, sort of like a fly on the wall as we set up a Patreon campaign from scratch. And it's coming up in just a second. All right, so let's get started here. So first of all, you're going to come to patreon.com and then you're going to click Get Started. That's going to prompt you to sign in with your Gmail or your Facebook or Apple login or whatever it is that you like to do there. You're then going to have this page here, which is going to say to name your page. Now, you can always change this later. So we're just going to say test page name. You want to think about a name that's going to stand out to your audience. So if you're a YouTuber or a podcaster or a comic book creator, right, you want to have a name that is going to stand out. So we're going to say test campaign CC. We'll just say that. Continue. Something that's going to be recognizable, easy for people to check. Go to patreon.com/ right? Something that's easy for them to have a call to action to really type that into their browser. So next, if you want to connect with your fans faster, you can connect your YouTube, your Instagram, your X, which is also Twitter, right? Your Facebook, whatever it is. If you do have one that you'd like to connect, you can go through that process. I'm going to skip this for now. I'd say the vast majority of creators nowadays are using Patreon, typically from podcasts, from YouTube, blogs. We get a lot of people as well who are influencers that love to use Patreon for the subscription-based crowdfunding component. So once you got this up and running, you can see here, this is going to be your page. Here on the left, there's also a couple of other items. There's your library, audience, insights, payouts, promotion, community, notifications, and more. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is what people are going to see, right? They're going to see the actual headline. They're going to, if you want to add that, you have your URL there. You can add in your socials if you want to, and also this background image, which is all customizable where you can select the cover. So you can also change things like the colors that go on your actual page. You can go about creating your first post. We see as well as we're coming here some great connections. If you want to do, you can go through some of these major steps to get this page up and running. Collections are also another great way you can actually organize your post if you want to. Shops is a feature where you can actually sell digital products if you wanted to your audience. And there's a little bit of a fee, right, when it comes to Patreon there. You can set up membership tiers. As you can see, you can add more about who you are and also some other recommendations when it comes to your fans. So let's start here, just kind of going through some of the basics of creating a post. So if you're creating a post, that could be audio, polls, live streams, links, images, videos, you name it. So I think an easy one just to start here with a text post, just to give you an idea of like the functionality. You can add in different attachments. You can add in this to a collection if you want to create a new collection with an image there, a thumb size image. As you're going out there and you're creating different collections, you can add in different tags. It's a little bit easier for you to search through this. We're just going to say a test post. And if you want to, you can preview that right before it goes live, so you can see what that's going to look like via desktop. If you want to look at that through a mobile view as well, that's going to load there after a few seconds. And whether you want to make this a public post or a member post. Now, there is a little bit of marketing, I'd say, behind making it a public post, because whenever someone who's not a member comes to and goes and sees your Patreon campaign, they're going to see those public posts, which is going to create curiosity about your Patreon campaign. So you can use this strategically in order to get people interested in becoming a member of your Patreon campaign, which is a really unique way to be able to do that. Some of the other things here, you have your library here of your posts, your collections, and all of the drafts. As you can see here, you're going to get audience insights and relationship management within this unique tool. So this, can you think of this almost as kind of like a CRM or a database? You can download all of the information as your audience members come in here. You can see how much they've pledged, how long they've been a part of your community, right? When they actually join, their email, all that great information with this relationship manager. You can also see some of the benefits, right? So you can track what you're giving to your actual members that are a member of your community. When they decide to exit your community, for example, they decide to cancel their pledge, I think a great thing would be to have an exit survey. So that could be, looking at and understanding the reasons why and downloading that information into a CSV, uploading that into a Google Sheet, and then you can very easily begin to create some graphs or information and get an idea of why people are exiting your Patreon campaign. I'm not going to go too much through block users, but the first thing I would say from like a strategic standpoint is that the better you can understand your audience, the better you can create pledges, reward tiers that are going to make them excited about continuing to be a member. So this is about value, right? What value are they receiving on a recurring basis to make them want to continue their experience when it comes to being a part of your Patreon campaign? You can also see other information here like insights. So as you would have people coming in, you'd be able to see on a new basis, free members, paying members, right? Earnings, posts, surveys, traffic, all that information can be really easy if you wanted to begin to customize that. You also have a new member survey, which you can see here as responses begin to come in. So if you want to send out a welcome survey, you can preview that and you can sort of see some of the information about why they maybe became a patron, and also more other information when it comes to the survey there. So I think this is incredible for just getting more information and more data, right, about your actual patrons. You also can see here, you can customize payouts, right? So the payouts, you'd have to add in a payout method in order to make that available. You also have your other documents when it comes to income tax, sales tax, etc., and also promotions. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but I do think it's important you're at least aware, first of all, of where to find this information in the dashboard from a step-by-step standpoint, the chats, the direct messages, all that kind of stuff, and also the settings as you're going to go about there and customize this. If possible, I would invite your team. I think this is an easy way to manage your Patreon campaign. If you're solo, obviously that could be like a virtual assistant, or it could be someone who's helping you out. But I do think that definitely is a great option there. You can also have more settings here when it comes to your podcast, syncing with Spotify, email notifications, billing, payouts, all the kind of normal settings, right, that you're going to find there. So first of all, let's kind of go through this and let's start to think about the page. Let's begin to edit this page. We can get something going that looks interesting. So when it comes to cover photos, you can customize this. You can upload, if you want to, a new cover photo that's going into your actual page. I also would recommend uploading a profile photo. You can customize your URL here. You can change up the branding if you wanted to. And when you do that, you can also then scroll down even more and connect some of those social links and to add more information. When it comes to this merch, it's probably one of the most exciting features that Patreon has added in over the years, which is that if you want to, you can allow people to purchase merch or to give them access to merch under different membership options. So you can click here, add membership, right? And you can see some of the different benefits which you can offer for like $5 a month, $15 a month, $20 a month, etc. That could be behind the scenes content, could be voting, early access, all that kind of information, and also the tiered pricing. So they did a great job of, we'll just say, adding in a little bit of information here. This is going to be great for if you can add in a cover photo, an image to that. It's going to make people feel a little bit more excited about supporting at that tier, and also give them a sense of what they might get if they actually support at that particular tier. So I'm not going to fill this in too much with information, but the other cool thing about Patreon is you can give people this like teasing, right? Which I mentioned, providing some free posts. You can tease people into becoming a part of your Patreon community, and you can offer a free trial, as you can see here, which would allow them to then be able to sample some of those posts. So one of the other things you can do as well is to have different tiered benefits. So I'm not going to go through too much of this, but I do think one to point out would be free trials. I think this is a great way to tease people as they're going and starting to discover your Patreon page. Not only can you tease them with the free post, but also the trial, right? So giving someone the ability to actually try out a membership tier before they commit to it. The downside to that is only a certain percentage who try out that membership tier are going to then continue with being a member of your Patreon campaign. You can also limit the number of people who can join a specific tier. Why would you want to do that? Well, one reason would be fear of missing out. So when you limit something, it creates this limited quantity effect, this fear of missing out. People are going to value that tier a heck of a lot more, and they're going to be more likely to take action when there's a limited number of people who can take action at that specific tier. So a great option there to just kind of have more of like a psychological sell, if you know what I mean. And that way, people who come to it are going to feel a little bit more excited about this. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfill Right today. Link in the description. So I would, like I said, add a photo and add some more information when it comes to that tier, but your membership tiers are going to show up there as you begin to add them and you begin to build out your tiers. Now, this works a little bit differently than other websites like Kickstarter. So with Kickstarter, the average pledge per backer is around $50. When it comes to Patreon, you'll notice it's a lot smaller. So that could be, a couple bucks a month. It could be upwards of $25 a month. These people are supporting on a regular basis. They tend to support at a little bit lower average pledge than on Kickstarter, where you might see $50. Here, you might see something, for example, like, $10 or a $25 tier being much more common, right, when it comes to Patreon. You can also highlight a specific tier around the psychology of pricing. And this is actually really interesting, marketing phenomenon here. With pricing, typically people don't like to have too many options, and they tend to feel what's called analysis paralysis. So when you're building out your tiers, you want to have your beginning tier to kind of be like the one that doesn't have as much value as people might like. And you're pushing them more so towards the highlighted tiers. So that could be one of the middle tiers or one of the ones that's has a little bit more value than the other tiers. You want to think about really highlighting a tier because, again, more people are going to look at the first one and be like, I might as well get the next one up because it has more value, which is actually in that specific tier. It's a little bit of psychology of pricing. You don't want to have too many. It can be extremely overwhelming from a marketing standpoint and also from a fulfillment standpoint. And those people also, right, that come there are just going to feel that analysis paralysis and they're not going to want to take action as much. So make sure you're thinking a little bit about that. After you've gone through your membership, you've decided, right, whether or not you want to have a shop, and that would be very easy for you to do. You could just, for example, if you're having like a new class, or it could be, a web class or something like that. If you're teaching a specific subject, it could be something that people can purchase there. Let's say this is a $100 web class. You can attach that file, that video, those images, other files that are related to that tier. You can select that, right, as well, the way it's going to look, and then you would just click publish, and we'd have to add in a product file as well. So we've gone through posts, we've gone through customizing this, we've gone through collections a little bit here. If you want to create a new collection, that's very simple, right? Adding in your thumbnail there, and in that way you can have a series of posts if you did want to have, and then you can add them all to a specific collection. Collections could be around a specific announcement or specific topic. It could also be if you're creating like more of a course and you're trying to gather some of those different collection items that are specific to people wanting to learn a topic. You could have that be in the collection item there. Other ones would be the about page and making sure you add in more details there. And that's just for someone who's kind of curious about who this person is that's behind that Patreon campaign. So I think that we've covered a lot of these major items. What I'd like to go through now is just a couple of best practices. And this is also what I cover in my free course. So I do have a free course on Patreon. These are some of the tips, resources, tricks, and tools which you can use in order to supercharge your Patreon campaign. If you want to join this free course, all you got to do is go to crowdcrux.com/Patreon course. And that link will take you to this free course. I also have an incredible book that I put together, which are insights and secrets for launching a profitable Patreon campaign. These are tricks for actually getting funded on Patreon. And if you want to learn more about this book, which I put together for you, all you got to do is go to crowdcrux.com/Patreon tricks, and that will take you to this book, and you can learn more about this book and this guide which I have assembled here for you. Keep in mind this is an investment, of course, in order to get access to this, and we might actually be increasing the price, I think, to this one just based on the reception we've been seeing so far. So let's get into some best practices. Now I want to start with a website here called Graphtreon. Now I don't know if you're familiar with Graphtreon, but this is a great tool which you can use in order to see some of the top paid and free Patreon creators out there. So what I would recommend doing first of all is taking a look at Graphtreon and looking at some of the major podcasts, comics, music, videos in the category which you're looking to launch it. So for example, this one is earning $87,000 per month. You can take a look at some of these sample Patreon campaigns, and you can see more data and information about how they're progressing over time, right? How it's coming when it comes to their monthly growth, subscribers, all of that information. I think this is really cool because you can then see the opportunity that's available to you if you really are willing to persist when it comes to these Patreon campaigns. Another one here, you can see here the number of paid members that they have, their estimated monthly earnings over time, how that's growing in terms of their paid members, and sort of some of the stats going into their Patreon campaign. To me, what I like most about this is just kind of doing this as research and looking through the crowdfunding campaign, getting an idea of the rewards that they're offering, the dollar amount, how they're including these graphics, fonts, the access that they're giving, how they're managing their community through Discord, some of the posts, as you can see here, that are creating curiosity and interest. So if nothing else, the first tip that I have for you is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You need to study what other creators are doing to be successful. And this is a tried and true practice to be able to actually look into not only the posts, the rewards, perks here, but also the vibe. And I would, if possible, even go on, if we're talking about this particular creator, go on their channel, look through some of their different videos and get a sense of how they're promoting their Patreon campaign. Are they doing this directly on their videos here? Are they doing it via their email list? Are they doing it through their social media posts? Get an idea of how they're mentioning their Patreon, because that's going to tell you a lot about their marketing strategy. So that's the first one I would say. And again, this is what I really tried to do with this guide, which is helping you turn your passion into profit and getting through some of the principles that other creators are already using in order to launch a successful Patreon campaign. And I do as well touch on that with my free course, Crowdfunding Step by Step for Patreon. So the other tip that I have for you when you're beginning to put together a Patreon campaign page is to be mindful of how you're going to be teasing this specific Patreon campaign. It's not enough just to put together a page. If you go to the Patreon website, Patreon doesn't really operate in the same way that Kickstarter does. So with Kickstarter, and I think we might have to open up a new tab here. Let me see if I can get another one going up here. The way that Patreon works is it's a little bit less of a discovery platform. And what I mean by that is that people usually are not just coming here and being like, I want to support a Patreon creator. I'm going to go and check out new Patreon creators. It's very rare that happens. Usually people are looking for a specific creator, which is why the actual user interface of this website is set up this way. So let's just say this is the Doughboys, right? Patreon campaign. People are going to come here. They're going to look up Doughboys, right? And it's going to come up with the page. That's what the user flow is. That's how they're going to discover you. The other way would be that you are mentioning this within your content. So that could be while you're recording a podcast, you're going to be talking about the Patreon. That could be while you're in the descriptions, you're talking about the Patreon. That could be via your social media. If you're going, let's just say on Instagram, we'll just say the Doughboys Instagram here. Maybe they're talking about the Patreon. Every once in a while, it could be in their link tree as well. If we look at the link tree, let's go through the link tree. So they do notice here, one of the top ones here, aside from their merch, is going to be their Patreon. So this is what I call diagramming or understanding the marketing flow behind a Patreon campaign page, right? For example, if you are a YouTuber or a podcaster, you're probably going to be having one or two major channels. That could be like your YouTube channel. Then you also have other marketing channels such as your social media. It could be your email list. It could be a Facebook group. It could be the actual posts that you're doing. You need to have a coordinated marketing strategy, not only across the channels, but also emphasizing what's in the actual Patreon campaign. So to give you just one other explanation of that tip, for example, we have the product, the placement of that product, the price, which is probably another important one, right? So if we're focusing on the first three P's, you have what it is that you're offering, your reward tiers. So what is interesting about going and joining this Patreon? Why should people want to participate? What is cool? What are you teasing, right? So you want to be talking about that within the channel that you're promoting. In addition, the price, it's only $5 a month. That's literally like going down to Starbucks or maybe getting a small coffee and a bagel, right? For that price, you can get access to. You really want to frame the pricing and why this is an incredible value, right? When it comes to that. And lastly, the promotion, which is what are you saying? What is the script? What is the information which you're conveying every time you bring up your Patreon? What's the copy, right, that goes into that to sort of frame that marketing promotion there? So that would be tip number 2. And I'll leave you off with this video with a final tip. And this is again for those people that are becoming a student of crowdfunding. If you want to be successful with Patreon, if you see from Graphtreon and some of these other stats, right, it's not enough just to launch and that's it. It's really over time. Look at this. Over the course of 5 years, these guys have developed a monster following. If they had quit right here under the first year or in the first 6 months, they would not have experienced this phenomenal growth, which they've seen over the years. If we take a look at this one, 5 years, right? They started off a little bit stronger, but still, if they quit here, they wouldn't get all the way over here. So you gotta be in it for the long game. And one of the best ways to be in it for the long game is to be mindful of other tools that you can use when it comes to marketing. So I'll throw out one more tool. Another tool, aside from using Linktree, will be using what's called Bitly links. Now, why do I recommend Bitly links? Let me log out here so you guys can actually see here kind of what it looks like. Bitly is great because number one, you can do easy short links. You can also do QR codes. You can also look at the traffic behind every single link and every single campaign. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that if you're doing, let's just say like a marketing campaign across QR codes and also across social media and also across your email list and also across maybe you're mentioning it within the video, go to the specific link, you can see the analytics behind any campaign and where people are clicking the links from. So for example, some people are coming from social media, some people are coming from YouTube, some people are coming from my email list. This allows you to have a much more powerful, coordinated marketing strategy, right? And in that way, you can really get a sense of where people are discovering your unique links and where they're actually coming in. So here's a great image here. For example, some are coming in from LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, Reddit. So that allows you to see, oh, okay, this is working really well. I'm going to mention my podcast more. I'm going to do more social promotions on Reddit. I'm going to do this more on X, right? It lets you see your biggest ROI and as well where geographically those links are coming in from. So it allows you to scale your marketing. So those are 3 major tips we just went over, right? When it comes to that, 1 is studying other campaigns. 2 is making sure that you have a coordinated marketing strategy across multiple channels and how to involve that and how to break that down by the 4 Ps so that we product, placement, which is the channel, price, and the actual promotion, which you're doing. And lastly, and there's so many more we can cover, but we'd be here for like forever. The last one is incorporate analytics. Digital marketing is all about analytics. So you want to use a tool like Bitly to make that easier on yourself. Now, if you want to learn more, go to that free course I mentioned at crowdcrux.com/Patreon course. That will take you there. You can join my free course. Or if you're excited about getting your hands on this incredible guide, secret for launching a profitable Patreon campaign, there I am with a not so great photo that you can learn more about that. You can watch my video. But this is about turning your passion into profit. This is for podcasters, video creators, musicians, artists, game developers, and more. And we can really get into what other successful creators have mastered when it comes to driving Patreons and go even more, that's probably a better image right there, even more in depth into what works for getting patrons. Hope you enjoyed this. My name is Salvador Briggman. Go and check out some of my other videos out there. Subscribe to this channel if you want to get content every single week on Patreon and other ways to turn your passion into profit using crowdfunding. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.